Junkie Nation, he's back. One of our favorites, Brendan Loughnane. He's got a big fight coming up in the Windy City of Chicago. It's PFL 3 regular season, and his opponent is Pedro Carvalho. Exact date is 1 week from today, Friday, April 19th. What's going on, Brendan? How are you?
Hey guys, always better for seeing you fellas, that's for sure.
Thank you, sir. You guys are on ESPN and ESPN Plus, so a lot of eyeballs. Why aren't you the main event? It bugs me that someone who's a former champ, who's charismatic and throws down. I mean, you're ticking boxes left and right. What's the deal here? You're co-main, no disrespect. I mean, that's legit, but I just think you should be at the top of the heap. You're the guy that they parade around to all the radio stations and have him promote this fight card.
Wow, I never even thought of it like that, to be honest. But now you say it, yeah, I'm with you. Why am I not main event? I'm only joking. It is what it is. The main event is a cool fight, to be fair. Ulmatov and Koroshov, that is a great fight. Me and Pedro's also a great fight, but the card is really stacked. I'm glad they brought these Bellator guys over, freshen it up a bit. For a minute there, it was me, Bubba, and Movleed doing the rounds for about 3 years.
Yeah. That's true. Well, no, yeah, those guys are definitely studs. The Korshkov's a former champ. Mulatov's undefeated. I get it. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of times I'll have friends who are casual fans. Goes and I are hardcores. We cover the sport. We're also fans. We know a lot of hardcores that know all you guys and gals, right? But every once in a while, some casuals will text me, "Hey, I'm on ESPN. This is cool, right?" But that connectivity is missing sometimes when the pre-fight package has the translator, or when post-fight Sean O'Connell's talking and he has to go through 2 or 3 different people to get these responses. So I think you're a gem, bro. Like for the promotion, your fighting style, you've worn gold, and you have great smack. That's why I'm saying it, I guess.
Thank you. Appreciate the compliments. I do try my best. I try to do every interview that's physically possible. I try to talk. I try to get fights, hyped up, and I also try and be exciting in the ring. So, yeah, thanks for your compliments. I'm doing something right.
Brendan, I know last season was a bizarre ending. You get a first round KO, but then the first round KO does you in because of the point system. There's others that have backed in with a win and a draw, or sorry, a win and a loss. Like this was really, really baffling to me. But was there any positives that came out of that negative?
Well, I actually got a second round TKO, and that was the problem. If it would have been the
Oh, it's
first
five.
round,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, that's what I'm like. You know what? You know what it did teach me that I could have had Marlon out of there in the first, and it's teach me that don't let people off the hook because that cost me a semi-final. Even though I lost, I could have still been in the semis with 6 points win and a loss. So this it's a different entity in it. Like you got to fight for points. But that being said, with a 70% new roster this year, let's see how all these guys are coping September time. And you're on your third weight cut. You got bumps and bruises from the other 2 fights. Let's see where everyone's at then.
Did the time off suit you well? Because you have had a busy schedule the last few years.
That time off was the most well-needed thing I ever needed in my career. Like, imagine I did 3 seasons back to back, back to back, and then all of a sudden you just get a couple of months off. I'm like, wow, what's this? I enjoyed my life. I travelled the world a bit, ticked a few things off my bucket list, and came back to my bread and butter. And here we are. I mean, I started training for this fight Christmas Day. I started on Christmas Day on purpose because I was like, you know what? I promised my mum that I was going to spend Christmas with her this year. So I flew back to England, spent Christmas Day morning, and had the Christmas dinner. There was a flight at 8:40 that night, and I was like, I'm leaving. Sorry, mum. I've got goals to chase. I said, oh, she's like, off you go, son. So left her and got to Thailand and started chasing the dream again.
Wow. Wait, let me follow up real quick. I think Goz was going to ask something, but you left on Christmas Day, like on the spur, or this was pre-planned?
Kind of a bit of both because I wanted to be a man on my word and promised my
Mhm.
mum that I'd spend Christmas with her. So I
Okay,
did, technically. And then I left that night. I found a flight out of there to get back on this journey.
that's fair. Okay, you see, you had some
That's fair.
turkey, opened some gifts, and then a hug and a kiss, and you bounced. You didn't leave after
Exactly.
breakfast or nothing.
Exactly.
Got it. All right.
Brendan,
Go
you
ahead.
mentioned the bucket list. Can we ask what were some of those things you checked off?
Oh, yeah. Of course you can. I always wanted to go Bali, so I went to Bali. Spent 9 days there. I went to Glastonbury. That was a big one that I always wanted to check off. Wanted to do like skydive, but I'd already done that previously. What else was on there? I wanted to do Route 66, and I did that one. Um, I wanted to buy a new property for an investment. Did that one. I ticked off a lot of things, and I ticked off a lot of personal things because I've been away a lot. So it's been 10 months since my last fight. I've taken care of a lot of stuff, and now I just feel ready and free again.
Nice. And so one question that I did want to ask you was, after doing this so many times, what would you say is the lesson in that first fight, the strategy? Is there something to that first fight? Are you more aggressive? Do you hold back? Like, how do you approach the first fight?
I'll be honest, like I say, this is my fourth season, but if I said there was a strategy, it's still a fight at the end of the day. They're still going to lock the door and say fight. So you can go in as much thought process as you want that I'm going to do this and that. But if the other guy's not reading the script, then you're in for a hell of a fight. So I know Pedro's a game guy. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens from the 19th.
Would you say win, lose, or draw? Could this possibly be the last time you do the tournament, the season?
I say every year it's my last year. And somehow I end up back here. Um, there's an old saying, and this is the reason that I do the tournament, is because you should find the hardest thing you can possibly do in life and go for that because it'll get you purpose, get you out of bed every morning, keep you hungry, keep you focused. This is the hardest thing I can physically do right now. So why not chase after this? Give me another year of purpose, another year focus, and chasing the dream.
Did you read that somewhere? Did someone tell you that? I like that quote or that mantra or whatever.
I don't know. I've heard that somewhere, and it's resonated with me,
Yeah, I
and
like it.
it's really true. Find the hardest thing, something that scares the life out of you. It's ambitious. It gets you out of bed every morning with a fire up your ass, and that's exactly what this does for a year.
Wow. You mentioned skydiving. I've always wanted to do it, and I'm wondering if I'm kind of pussing out with my excuses. Oh, I'm over 50 years old, and this and that, but I'm gonna think about what you said a little bit. I've always wanted to do it one time. Maybe I'll apply that.
I'm just thinking. I've actually got an interesting story for you with the skydive. Um, so it was on my bucket list for a long time, and then a friend of mine came to Dubai and he stayed with me. Or he stayed in Dubai with a couple of my friends. They were on vacation, and I came in to see him on like a Wednesday afternoon, and they'd booked a skydive, and one of them wasn't feeling too good, so he was like, "Do you want to take my spot?" It's like a Wednesday. I've just finished training. I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." So I just randomly did it on a Wednesday afternoon, like not even thinking about it. Would I do it again? Probably not. Did I
Oh,
enjoy it? Yeah, probably. It was. It just feels like so much can go wrong. It really does. It's insane. Um,
give me why the
but
probably not. I'm curious about this.
um,
Or did you just answer that a lot can go wrong?
it just, you know what it is? It's one of them things that you have to feel once. But once you felt it, what are you gaining out of the second time? Does that make sense?
A little bit, yeah. Was it a little bit of a rush? Anything close to MMA, a fight in MMA?
I'll tell you what, right? When you get in the plane and on the way to the plane, everybody's all yap, yap, yap. But when the plane's like this, it goes very quiet in there. And then when you actually get to the top and the door opens, shh, and you just hear this noise, you're like, oh my God. Next thing, you're out the door, and it's like when the ref says, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go." Similar type of rush.
When are you most nervous? In the locker room when they're taping you up, in the walkout, when you're waiting for your opponent, or maybe you're the second one in? When do the nerves hit you most before the fight starts?
I think it's when they knock on your door and say, "Brendan, you're up next." I'm like,
Oof.
I'm like, again? We're doing this again, Brent? Yeah. Okay, here we go.
And it has nothing to do with the opponent. It's just the competition, or is it sometimes the opponent? Like they have an interesting skill that you know that might trouble you, or what is it?
No, it could be anyone. You could be fighting your next door neighbor. You could be fighting an Uber driver. You could be fighting a world champion. When they knock on that door and say you're up next, I don't care who you are, the belly drops.
What's scarier, and that knock on the door, an MMA fight, or you're just walking through Liverpool, Manchester late at night, and someone brandishes a knife and says, "Let's go." What's scarier to you?
Same. It's all the same. It's like, it's fight or flight, right? It's like, right, okay, this is what I've got to deal with right now. Like, but again, I'll go back to my original point. Find the hardest thing you can possibly do in life and go for that. This is the hardest thing for me mentally and physically, spiritually, emotionally. The hardest thing that I can do. So when they said, you want to do it again? I was like, absolutely not. And then I was like, sat and thought about it. I'm like, okay, you've been a champion. You know, you're going to have 4 fights in 7 months. You're getting a bit older now. So why not just rack up as many fights as you can? Show everyone your skills. Paint a few more canvases like the artist that I am. So let's see.
Hey, Brendan, so you brought up earlier in the interview how you like that there's new blood, right? Coming in from Bellator and all that. In doing your homework on Pedro, have you seen anything that you maybe haven't encountered in some of the guys that have been in the seasons previous?
You just lost you for 1 second. Repeat the last bit of the question in doing your homework.
In doing your homework, did you see anything with Pedro Carvalho that was different from some of the competitors that you've seen before in the season?
Not really, no. Pedro's a world-class level fighter. He comes from a great gym. John Cabner's one of the best coaches in the world. They're going to have a solid game plan. John knows me very well, so I know they're going to come prepared. I'm prepared, and we'll have a beer after the fight. It's just another one of them nights at the office.
Do you already know who's going to be in the finals? You versus?
One thing I've learned about that gentleman is never look past the night. So let's get rid of Pedro, and then we'll have this chat.
Goes, don't you agree that if people were in Chicago listening to this guy on a morning show or an afternoon drive show, it would pique their interest and want to say, I want to watch him fight. Where do I get tickets? Things like that. You see what I'm saying? That skydiving story was interesting. The motivational stuff he's been dropping. PFL, get it together, man. Listen to your boy. I've been covering this sport for 17 years. When you got a gem, you build around the gem. Anyway, couple last questions, Brendan. What's your I know you guys are all, you work for Team Brendan Loughnane, but this Bellator PFL thing, we've been wondering, will it run about a year where you guys will kind of keep score, the PFL guys, when they beat the Bellator guys? Does that even affect you at all? Do you think about that?
No, I don't think about that at all. I'm just glad that there's some fresh faces in here, some big names, and some fresh competition. That's all I care about right now. Like the fact that they used to come from Bellator, like the fact that Shaman and Tyler Diamond and like some of them have all come from the UFC. But I don't start saying, "Oh, I beat 3 UFC guys." It's is what it is. They're now in the PFL. They're in my home, so let's see.
Do you hope Caleb beats Holly this weekend?
That was a random one. You fired that one out of nowhere, didn't you?
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe she made 135. Fair play to Kayla. That must have took a lot of hard work and dedication. Holly's a
Doesn't
little
it
older
bother
now.
you when some people maybe might think either less of you or whatever because you're not there, but deep down in your heart, you've beaten competition, in different spots. So I always wonder that if there's ever a chip on your shoulder because of that.
That's a good question. I've sparred numerous UFC champions though. Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling, Conor McGregor. Like I've sparred all of the champions, like the major champions, and like I know where I'm at. They know where I'm at. And all that really matters to me out of this game is the respect that I get off my peers, not the respect that I get off some egg on Twitter. So It's true though. Like,
Yeah.
if I get a message off a fighter that I really respect, like, oh, keep going, or well done, or that means more to me than 1,000 egg messages on Twitter. So I don't really concern myself with that. And I make really good money in the PFL, and it's on the same channel as the UFC. I know it's not as big, but PFL are doing the thing now. I'm really coming up.
Yeah, for sure. Like I say, you guys will be on ESPN that night. That's cool, man. Brendan, thank you so much as always for the time and skydiving story. Great one. Hope the next week goes for you well with your weight cut. That's always the first test, right? The first fight, and then of course go out there and have fun, man, like you always do.
Thanks, fellas. Have a good night. Take care.